All right, guys, so I'm here at the Hive Life Conference, and I'm with Rickey Roark of horizontalbee.com. And he is passionate about promoting horizontal hives. And this is actually my hive. I'm getting one of these. And the reason that I'm getting one is I think it's a really good fit for a lot of beekeepers. I think there's a lot of beekeepers out there that just want to have a few hives in their backyard to play with the bees, make a little bit of honey to get good garden pollination. And if that fits you and you plan on getting older, then these make a lot of sense. There's not as much heavy lifting with a horizontal hive because you can access all of the frames and just take out a frame at a time to manipulate this. There are some advantages and disadvantages to these hives, and we'll get into that more later. But right now, I just want to talk to Rickey about how you got passionate about this, and you're turning it into a business, sort of a hobby business.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know, I got up with watching the Dirt Rooster. That's how I kind of got started, and my grandfather's had top bars. And, you know, I started watching Randy, you know, digging stuff out of eaves and out of the floors. And it's like those bees really like to go horizontal, you know. And I liked how my grandfather, when he got in his bees, that, you know, he could pull a frame up, you know, one at a time. And it was just so easy. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to look at, you know, some horizontal hives, you know, that somebody's got to sell these, right? And I started getting online, and I couldn't hardly find nobody that was selling them. And when you did, they were not what I wanted, you know what I'm saying? So I told my uncle, he's a cabinet builder, I said, hey, will you make me a horizontal hive? And he said, yeah, I'll build you one. So we put it in my building, and I put a hole out, and, you know, my first year we filled up 3 deeps. This fits 3 deeps. And then I ended up putting another deep on top of that, and then I put a super on top of that. It's like, oh my gosh, this really works really well, you know? And then I'm trying to figure out, well, how do I take a hive that's in the building, right, and actually put it out in the yard? And then we just come up with several different designs that way. So, and that's how we kind of got started. And we came to Cayman's conference last year, and we had great feedback. We had really good sales, and like you said, I'm not a super businessman. I'm a kind of person, I just want to build a very good product, and I want to show people, you know, a little different way of keeping honeybees.
Well, I really appreciate that, because this as a business model has some challenges with shipping. You got a very big, very heavy box here with a lot of open space on the inside, so you're paying to ship air. So that's a tough thing to overcome. But just talking to you, I'm really encouraged by your attitude in this. You really are doing this as a sort of a proof of concept and trying to get people to understand more about horizontal hives and why they make sense for a lot of people. Because commercial beekeeping equipment doesn't make sense for everybody.
Not at all. No.
A medium honey super 10 frame is going to weigh 50 pounds. A deep is going to weigh 80 or 90. You know, shallows even will weigh 40. So there's some people that don't want to or can't lift those sorts of weights, and they can do this. So this opens up beekeeping to some people that it wouldn't otherwise be open to.
And I have a bad back myself, and then, you know, a lot of our customers are some of the older people. A lot of ladies really like this kind of hive because it's kind of easy for them. But, you know, we're getting a lot of younger people that, especially this week, has come up and say, hey, you know, I'd really like to give this a chance. You know, I'm not a commercial beekeeper. I'm a backyard beekeeper. So, let me get one of these, you know, and let me try it out. So that feedback's been really positive this week for the younger people to come out and say, hey, you know, I want to try that out. So,
I want to take a look at some of the details on some of these different hives.
Okay.
So I'll set the camera up, and we'll take a look at this one and some of your others. You got some really neat stuff going on.
I appreciate that.
I want to show that.
All
right, so I think this is pretty much your base model. You've got a really nice top. You've got an airspace in here with vents. So that's going to help cut down condensation.
Correct.
Extremely well built. Nice latches. You can put 3 inner covers in here, so it'll fit 3 deeps, but you've got some interesting stuff going on here. Of course, we've got a double frame feeder. That's a mother load, so it's a different style of cap and ladder. I really like these. It prevents drowning.
Yep.
Ants can't really get in them because the bees can patrol that.
Correct.
You got a divider board with a queen excluder, so you can tell the bees where to put honey and where to put brood. Center entrance, so basically the bees enter in the center and then build out, and you can pull honey off of either side. Brood nest is typically going to be in the middle. And then you've got, because I use all medium equipment, I've got a lot of medium frames. You put a shim in here, just a spacer block that allows me to use my medium frames instead of the deeps that this thing is normally meant for.
Yep.
So
that's the setup right there.
Yeah. And this is your basic setup.
And this is the basic setup. Then this is my most popular hive that I sell right now.
Yeah.
Is this standard hive. It's just the looks right. And it fits the most of the beekeepers that want a hive.
Yep. That's great. Let's take a look at some of these others because you've got some really interesting stuff going on here.
There's a few others that are a little different.
a little different. Now, I want to note what's your construction here.
So the construction is made of 2x12s.
Okay.
Okay, and it's got a 3/4 inch bottom.
So this is not joined in the center. This is just a standard 2x12.
Yep.
And then you got
rabbits or steps.
You got 2 dados on here.
Yep.
Your joinery looks very good. Paint job looks good.
3 coats of paint that goes on there, primer and 2 top coats. Yep. You can also put a foam core in here. I've sent these up towards Canada that way. Those guys want a little more insulation. We can do that also.
Yeah. How do these overwinter in cold climates?
Well, see, I'm in the mountains of North Carolina, so they do extremely good.
Okay.
Extremely good. I think
that's one of the concerns about horizontal hives because heat rises and bees typically move up.
Yeah.
Following their honey column in a tree. You know, that's what they would do naturally.
Right. This is more of a single brood management system. You think of single brood, and you'll cut this down to 10 frames, and they'll usually start here and move their way across to the honey off the side. So.
Yep. There's a lot of work that goes into these. I'm looking at it, and there's just a lot of work that goes into
There
these.
is a lot of work.
So this is a very different looking sort of horizontal hive. You got a lot going on here.
Right.
You got these wings that fold up.
Correct.
Center portion that folds out.
Right.
And this is where you would put a honey super.
Yeah, that's correct. You can put a honey super right here. It's got pins in the front, and you can just take it on and off, and that seals the whole system from the weather.
Yeah. So you keep you could really put 2 colonies in here, couldn't you?
You could definitely put 2 colonies
with a queen excluder on each side.
Yep.
Let the 2 colonies merge and go into one honey super.
You could absolutely do that.
You could absolutely do that. It's plenty big enough for that.
Yep. I haven't tried that yet, but that'd be an interesting way to do it.
It'd be an interesting way to run a double queen system.
Yeah.
The problem with the double queen systems is the woodenware work to keep water out.
Right.
And keeping the queens separated. So I think this would work really well for that. But if you were doing that, you would need more honey super space than that.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be able to hold it.
Well, it'll hold.
They can fill supers up quick.
Yeah. We can make it and extend that out just a little bit. My buddy, where he can put 2 supers on there, and then he could just roll them out. That's what he did this year. So
that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's really. If you were doing that, I would almost say you need to detach this and be able to stack your supers and just put the roof back on top.
Right. Yep.
But you could do that. You could even take a telescopic cover if you had 2 supers on here. You could take a telescopic cover and put on top of it
and let it keep going. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely could.
That would be neat.
Yep. And then also, like during winter, if I want to come in and feed sugar in this hive, nothing gets messed with in here. I flip the top open. I put my sugar and my top feeder, and boom. You never actually have to get down to your bees if you don't want to.
So, Ricky, on this one, we're getting into prototypes and experimentation.
That's correct.
And what we've got over here is flow hive frames, which are a little, I don't know, there's some controversy about those.
Yep. Some people love them, some people hate them.
Yeah, some people love them, some people hate them. People are really passionate about it for good or bad. I like the thinking behind why you're experimenting with this. The way you explained it to me is you want an all-in-one system for a backyard beekeeper.
That's correct.
With a minimum of equipment.
Right.
The point behind putting these in here is to eliminate the need for an extractor.
That's correct. Yep. So
That's the entire point, is to have an easy-to-use system.
Yep.
That minimizes the amount of equipment that you need.
Yep.
And you've had some success with this, and also some
failure a little bit.
Some learning experience.
Yeah,
we call it that.
You know, our first year, you know, I allowed those bees to go blow out to the right side, and thought that they might come in here, and they didn't do that. Yeah. So the season got late, and they kind of got into the first frame, and really didn't start filling this system up. But then I had another friend that, you know, they filled these first 3 up and really didn't roll into the back frames at all, but he kept extracting from the first 3 frames, which is kind of interesting that they didn't push back. I had another person on YouTube had mentioned that, hey, why don't you rotate one of those over here, slide over and see if they won't fill that one up. Yeah. But, you know, we really didn't get to try that out this year. So
that's an interesting problem, because I think if you started with 2 deeps worth of drawn frames, then you could probably push them over here.
That's correct. Yeah.
I also see this. We've got a divider board with a little bit of queen excluder.
Yep.
What if you made the queen excluder bigger and gave more opportunity to go down in there?
Well, that's a good possibility right there. Something we need to work on then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think there's some tweaking that you could do to really make that work. And if you wanted to push honey over there, then you know, maybe even putting one of these here, and a bigger queen excluder over here.
That's a good idea.
You narrow this down, or even put 2 queen excluders over here. Yeah. And slow the bees down from going this direction, but
work them out that way.
Encourage them to go that direction.
So that's the thing with these horizontal hives. There's so much experimental stuff to do with these to get them to the next level. And I'll never say that, you know, my ideal is perfect, you know, but we'll keep working on it, and we'll get there, and we'll make the best horizontal hive we can make. And that's my game plan, you know. So and there'll be people that'll be watching our videos and watching my videos and say, hey, why don't you try this? And it's like, man, why didn't I think to do that? Yeah. You know, it's so easy, and
I get some of my best ideas from people commenting on videos like, you dummy, why didn't you do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, that's the fun part of these horizontal hives. You know, this can be pushed in many different directions. Yeah. Verticals have been done for a long time, you know, but horizontals, you know, I know they use them in like the UK and Europe and stuff, but we could really play with these and do a lot of stuff with them and make them what the customer wants. You know, what do you want? You know, we can customize that hive because we're small. We can do those kinds of things.
What I like about it, again, this is not going to be for everybody.
Right.
If you're doing this as a business, the cost of this compared to the honey production, Langstreth equipment is going to be much more economical.
Yes, 100%.
But if you're a backyard beekeeper who doesn't want to have a lot of heavy lifting, you know, I'm 41 now, but I plan to get older. I hope to get older. Right. I hope to be an old beekeeper. I want to be an 80-year-old beekeeper. Yeah. And at 80 years old, I very well may be in something like this. Yeah. You know, I just don't know that I'll be able to lift 50-pound boxes.
Yeah, I know. I have a bad back. You know, right now I still can't hardly do it. I either get a friend to come help me lift those boxes off, and my wife tries to help out as much as she can. But you know, we're both going to get older also. So
well, the problem is not just lifting 50-pound boxes, but you've got hive stand, and then you've got
you're way up here trying to get it off.
Some hives will have 5 mediums on top of them.
And I've seen some of your videos. You got some way tall.
I'm up on a little step ladder trying to lift 50 pounds up that's stuck together with propolis above my head and then come down without falling. Right. You know, this is so much easier than that. Yeah. It's just so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for the backyard beekeeper, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And you can paint them really nice.
Well, my wife does a good painting job.
I'll get some footage of this. This is just a beautiful hive. I'm assuming this one is for Cayman.
This one's for Cayman, and it's got a queen rearing system inside of it, and it's something I haven't tried out. So I would like.
So you've got a bunch of different entrances on here that you can make queens
with it. Yep. And just want to make sure that the queens are coming back to the correct places and that the hive is working correctly. But I do have a gentleman that's used the nuke part of it, and he said right now during winter, he said they are doing great. So he has to sell some nukes. He bought 2 of them off of us earlier in the summer here, and he's got it full of nukes. So
that's interesting.
He loves it. Yep.
Really interesting. Well, awesome. Ricky, I appreciate it.
Yep.
I look forward to learning about horizontal hives more.